Okay, so an alternating series is some series that has some part that makes it alternate, so like negative 1 to the n times some series a sub n. It could also be something like negative 1 to the n plus 1. It could also be like cosine of n pi. What we're looking for with this first part is something that's going to make the series go positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, or vice versa, negative, positive, negative, positive. You just want to make sure that each sign or each term has the different sign than the one in front of it. So with an alternating series, there's two things that you need to check for. The first thing you need to check is to check the limit as n approaches infinity of just a sub n. So ignore the alternating part completely and then see what that limit is. It needs to equal 0. The second thing is a sub n plus 1 needs to be less than a sub n, which basically is just a real mathy way of saying all the terms decrease. So we want something that goes like a half, a third, a fourth, a fifth. You want every single term to get smaller. You don't want something that bounces back and forth where you have like 5, 7, 5.5, 6.5, like anything that bounces back and forth where you have some terms that get bigger and some terms that get smaller, that is not going to work. As long as these two conditions are met, that means the series is going to converge. If either one of those conditions is not met, the series will diverge. So really what you're looking for is the limit 0 or all the terms decreasing. For the most part, you can really just focus in on this one and you'll be good to go. So when we look at these two examples down here, we see cosine and pi. Well, that's one of the things I wrote up here. That's a way that we know that it's alternating. So we want to check the limit as n approaches infinity of 1 over the square root of n. Now notice we're not looking at the series here. If you just look at that by itself, that's a p series that would diverge. We are not concerned with that. We're just looking at what does that limit equal. So this thing is bottom heavy. Since it's bottom heavy, the limit is equal to 0. Check, we're good to go. If we wanted to actually plug in things and make sure all the terms are decreasing, if you plugged in 1, you get 1. If you plug in 4, you get 1/2. If you plug in 9, you get 1/3. So all the terms are getting smaller. So that means this thing is going to converge. Now with the second one, same concept. We just ignore the alternating part because we see this part right here is alternating and just look at the rest of it. Now this thing is balanced, so on top it's 1, on bottom it's 5. That is not 0, so that means it's going to diverge. You don't even have to check the second condition. If the limit doesn't equal 0, it's definitely going to diverge. Now you could also see something like number 3. And I'm including a lot of questions like this because I think that's maybe how they might test it more this year rather than in a multiple choice format where it just says pick all that converge. So we're going to find a value of p so that this series converges and so that this series diverges. So you need to make sure you know what type of series we're looking at here. So this one, since it has a negative 1 to the n, is alternating. And then this one, since we have 1 over n to some number, is a p series. So p series may be the easier one to start with here. A p series is going to converge when this power is greater than 1. So if we're looking for where it diverges, we need 5p to fall in between 0 and 1. So that means p would need to fall in somewhere in between 0 and 1/5. So any number we pick in that interval, we know that that p series is going to diverge. So let's just go with 1/5. If we picked 1/5, we would need to check and make sure, does the limit as n approaches infinity of 1 over n to the 1/5 equal 0? Well, it does because it's bottom heavy. So that means our answer for this can be P equals 1/5. Because if we plug in 1/5 into the first one, the limit is 0, so that's going to make it converge. If we plug in 1/5 into the second one, that makes P equal to 1, which means it's going to diverge. So let me know if you guys need any more help with alternating series.